Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Florida Panthers have secured back-to-back Stanley Cups after a dominant performance against Connor McDavid and the Oilers. Also, will Tyrese Haliburton's injury doom the Indiana Pacers? And the Bengals have to figure out their financial situation before training camp, or it could ruin their season.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Florida Panthers are going back-to-back as Stanley Cup champions. Sam Reinhart scores 4 goals, becoming just the 4th player in league history to light the lamp that many times in a final. Matthew Tkachuk, he gets the sealer in a fitting tribute to his career with the Panthers. Armando Velez, our Locked On Panthers host, joins us now from the bowels of the arena right before they're about to roll the trophy out with Lord Stanley's Cup. Armando, this is one of the great teams now, back-to-back, the first time since the Lightning did that. What is going to be their legacy as of this moment?
Their legacy in this region is a team of redemption, a team of uncertain that went from uncertainty to absolute certainty. Yeah, you think of when the Panthers won the Stanley Cup last year, they paid off all their debts to the arena and then made a commitment to improve the area and improve the arena to make it more fan-friendly as well. But now adding to the economics of the region as well. I mean, the prior 2 Stanley Cup runs, the economy brought in $110 million for the Panthers' last 2 runs, and it's only going to be exponentially growing from this. And to think that with the amount of turnover that the Florida Panthers had from this year, and then the trade deadline acquisitions of Seth Jones, and then bringing in Brad Marchand from the Boston Bruins, bringing in leaders and guys who were high draft picks as well for the Panthers, even prior to even their first win. I mean, it's just a commitment to excellence all over for this Panthers team. And to think that the Panthers really saved their best defense for last, especially in the series. I mean, 13-4, outscoring them in the first period. It really came down to just fast starts, and the Panthers, although they blew 2 leads in game 1 and game 4, nothing rattled them. That's the best thing about it. They stayed to their structure. They still believed, and the fact that they went through this before in blowing a 3-0 series lead and then winning in game 7, nothing fazed them.
You mentioned the impact, the community impact. I even saw on social media some jokes about like, hey, do people in Florida care about this? And Panthers fans, they rightfully got pretty ticked off about that perception, because you go back to back. By the way, Tampa did it too. This is Florida. This is warm weather hockey. This is proof that if you have a good team and you are able to build an identity, the fans are going to show up. They are. This is more proof that this works, and that's important.
No doubt, and I can speak it from a fan's perspective myself, as someone who only goes to opening day for the Marlins once a year and no games outside of that. And it took the Panthers in 2016 to go on a 12-game winning streak for me to go attend my very first Panthers game. I watched them for a few years, but the year that they made it in 2012, they had the worst goal differential ever for a playoff team and got bounced in 7 games that year against the New Jersey Devils in 2012. But that's how it is. And the South Florida landscape with so many people from up north, and then passing those their fandom on to their offsprings, you have to really build a winner in order to sell it to your fan base in order for that. And that's what it comes down to. It just comes down to winning. That's what sells. And, you know, the Panthers were in trouble pre-cap era when it came to the amount of spending that the big market teams had. But 04-05, even after the 04-05 lockout, they really weren't winning a lot until 2020, post COVID. That's really the big change, and it came down to just Bill Zito and the commitment from the Viola family to Also open a new practice facility for the Panthers, and how they're able to just still stick with guys that they drafted 10 years ago, and Alexander Barkov, Aaron Ekblad. He's a free agent, by the way, Aaron Ekblad. We don't know if he's going to stay, but the fact that he possibly ends his career with the Stanley Cup, I mean, it's a feel-good story for two guys who stuck with it.
What is going to be the key here? I mean, there is an opportunity here to be legendary, truly legendary, and especially if you beat Connor McDavid in a Stanley Cup final. I mean, that is something on its own. But what is going to be the key to potentially sustaining this into something even greater?
I mean, hockey's a little different when it comes to superstar, and because in basketball you can play 48 minutes. In hockey you can play up to half the game, so you can't play every shift in hockey, which makes the Stanley Cup a lot harder to win. So for the Panthers, it's still impressive, don't get me wrong, for what the Panthers have done and just how they're able to
I meant more symbolically, just because you're doing it against the best player in the game's team.
No doubt. And the fact that the Panthers have been able to roll 4 lines, it's not just one line. And hey, the Oilers had a lot better depth this year than last year, for what it's worth. And how the Panthers have just been able to just stick with come hungry. And it started from opening night against the Boston Bruins back on October 8th. They lifted the banner, didn't waste any time, and then absolutely manhandled Boston there. And to think that Brad Marchand was on the other side to start that season. And then now they're Stanley Cup champions here. Once again, it's just outstanding for how they're able to do it. And it's going to be a lot harder as the cap comes for everybody. So we're going to see how they navigate things from here on out.
You can stay up to date all year on the Florida Panthers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Panthers on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up. If Haliburton is out, the Pacers might be cooked. Before we get to that, the Yankees' AL East lead is dwindling by the day. The NBA playoffs are winding down, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action, so don't miss out. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props. Maybe you'd like to do that. From three-pointers to steals to assists, there are so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Place that first $5 bet on the Thunder, 6.5-point favorites over the Pacers in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. The potential clincher, odds on the over, plus 110, and the under, minus 152. Defense has been a theme for the Thunder all postseason and all regular season. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. The Yankees have gone ice cold as the weather gets warm. New York has secured just 4 runs over the last 5 games, having now been shut out twice by the Angels.
0. That's how many runs the Yankees have scored in their last 29 innings. I'm Brian McKeon from Locked On Yankees, and it's gone from bad to really bad to worse. The Yankees fielded the 8th team all-time with 4 MVPs in the lineup tonight, and they lost the game 4-0 to the Los Angeles Angels. That's 2 straight losses to the Angels. That's 5 straight losses overall. That's 3 straight shutouts, and again, 29 consecutive innings without a run scored. And to make it even worse, the manager thinks they had some really good at-bats in a game where Kyle Hendricks put on an absolute clinic. Will Warren pitched well? Heck, the whole team's pitched well. The Yankees just don't score runs. Is the swoon here or not? We'll discuss it all on Locked On Yankees.
The Oilers reflect on an incredible Stanley Cup Finals after losing to the Panthers again.
Man, it was not supposed to be like this. Nick Soraris of Locked On Oilers here after a brutal, as you can get, closeout game loss where the Oilers for the second straight year failed to defeat the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup final on a night where mistakes ultimately turned out to be the difference. The Panthers showed just how small the margin of error in this league is. The Oilers didn't play a particularly bad series or a particularly bad game, but you look at some of these crooked numbers the Panthers were able to put up off of Panther mistakes. The Panthers put the Oilers on their heels almost from the get-go. You score that first goal off of a mistake with McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice at the same time, Bouchard and Ekholm as well, and then Florida slowly but surely starts to wear you down. You saw McDavid and Draisaitl put together very early on in this game. Neither guy really found a way to get anything going, and we sit here for the second straight year with a lot of questions about how the Oilers try and improve, try and maintain where they are. But for now, the Oilers have some accounting to take care of. This is not a bad hockey team, but good or very good hockey teams don't win the Stanley Cup in today's NHL. This Panthers team is a machine, and the Oilers left too many opportunities on the table. They didn't get enough from their supporting cast, and their best players, McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, had pretty good series, but none of them rose to where they would have needed to be to drag the Oilers closer, to make this game closer. But if you are morbidly curious about where the Oilers go from here, I highly encourage you check out the Locked On Oilers podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, or over on YouTube.
And college football power brokers are back at square one on the 2026 playoff format. After the SEC and Big Ten pitched a model giving themselves 4 auto bids each, the ACC and Big 12 pushed back, and even the SEC's own coaches weren't on board. Now the focus is shifting to a 5 automatic qualifier plus 11 at-large model with more weight, maybe going to strength of schedule. Let's keep it real, though. This is a vibes-based committee, and it probably always will be. Tyrese Haliburton suffered a calf strain in Indiana's Game 5 loss to the Thunder. Locked On NBA host Wes Goldberg and Tony East discuss what the Pacers' plan might be if Hallie isn't available for Game 6.
How do you think this plays out, Tony?
Man, I mean, the way Shams phrased it on TV, he said this was a regular season game, or even a first-round game, there's doubt he would even play. It's the finals. Tyrese Haliburton told us last night in Paycom Center that he's playing in Game 6. Like, that's his intention. That's his goal. You do everything you can to get to the stage as a player. He's there. So it's very scary to be playing through muscle things in the finals, as we've seen in the past. But that's a risk he has to decide that he's willing to take, because, look, if an MRI reveals a severity that's too much for him to do the risk, like, maybe they opt out of playing. But my suspicion would be that he will play limited, and they will try everything they can to make him feel as good as possible and play, because, look, he wasn't very good in Game 5. I don't think anyone would say that he was. And, you know, one of his first plays in the second half, he drives in the lane, he turns around, and he tries to go back to the three-point line, and he doesn't move. He just passes it out. And that's like a move we've seen on the shot he hit over Ty Jerome and the shot he hit against the Knicks at the buzzer that bounced up really high, that he can fly back out to the three-point line turning around like that. And, like, he just got no traction off the ground. And that was when it was, like, I knew he was hurt because of the limping and everything, but that's when it was clear to me, like, oh, man, this is really impeding his basketball ability. And for a lot of the game, he was like a decoy in the corner. Like, TJ McConnell came in for him with 2 minutes to go in the first half. There were just a lot of signs that it was obvious that the Pacers were playing around him instead of through him. And so now it's more clear what this is. It's a muscle thing. It's not this whatever, like, lower leg ankle thing that he was dealing with after Game 2. He's their best player. He is their identity setter. Like, this is a huge deal. I think that if he plays, it's going to be interesting to see what kind of value they get out of him. Like, in Game 5 specifically, he still had value as a decoy. Like, Lou Dort was still guarding him pretty far away from plays. He's a good catch and shoot player, but there was no notion going into that game that he was already dealing with the injury. I'd be curious how they change their defensive game plan on Tyrese Haliburton if they go into the game knowing that he's already banged up, and how that allows the Thunder to improve their defensive game plan against what the Pacers would be. So it's a huge deal. He's their best player. Without him, they are certainly less on offense. Like, it hurts every single player on their team because he sets up everybody with passing too. So if he plays, they're a worse team. If he doesn't play, they're also a worse team. And there's really no way around that for the Pacers. My guess would be, given his comments, that a severely limited version of Tyrese Haliburton will play in Game 6.
He said, if I can walk, I can play, right? And so he's going to be out there. I can't imagine that. I mean, look, they're down 3-2, right? I mean, this is it. It would be maybe even one thing if this were Game 2 of the NBA Finals. But the fact that this is an elimination game, it feels like he at least has to try to go out there. And if, for whatever reason, this thing goes south early, maybe he gets pulled or whatever, but he's got to at least try to go out there. And I do think that there's going to be, you could argue that if he's dealing with this thing, the best he'll be is at the beginning of the game. So do you throw him out there as fresh as he can be.
Right.
Hope that you get a little Haliburton boost, a boost from your home court advantage. Maybe you can get out to an early lead, and then you can hopefully ride Pascal Siakam, and maybe, Miles Turner and Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith start making some jump shots.
Yeah,
maybe you could ride that to a game 7.
The other thing I think people will forget is Haliburton got hurt in the conference finals last year, and Nembhard went crazy. Like, he was amazing against the Celtics in those games last year. I don't think it's reasonable to expect him to go ham against this awesome Thunder defense, but that's you just described what the Pacers have to hope can happen is some home crowd magic with the Nembhard Siakam game, and then role players make threes and they can force the game 7, and then everybody would think the Thunder are favorites because they're the home team and they're the better roster. But everybody would squint and do the thing where they go, well, it's a game 7. You just never know, right? So that's their hope if he doesn't play. And if he does, it's obviously that they hope he's somewhat effective and everybody else plays well around him.
What did you see at the end of the game? I mean, obviously we saw the fact that he was being used as a decoy. Even he goes 0 for 6 on jump shots. I rewatched him this morning, and it's major hesitation, clearly uncomfortable taking those shots. Is there any way that he could just be better? Is it as simple as, well, he wasn't planning on getting hurt, and maybe now he can have a strategy for being hurt and playing hurt?
Maybe so. I mean, the problem is that they play so fast, right? He's required to be zippy and moving and cutting and flinging the ball around, and it's that's the hardest possible way to play if your calf is hurt, right? If any muscle in your leg is hurt. So, I mean, the theory of the case would be slow it down, walk it up, set some screens, see what you can do. But then what are the Pacers? What is their ethos if that's how they're playing? So I guess can he be catch and shoot corner guy who lifts every so often when someone else is driving or some other actions going on? Yeah, maybe you can better plan to use him in that way. Can he be a screener for Pascal Siakam? Maybe are you really trying to make Tyrese Haliburton slam some screens on a banged up calf? Well, it's the finals. Maybe you should try it. So yeah, I think there's something to that. Trying to find cutesier little ways to use him that aren't his strengths, but that might be better than the version of him you're getting anyway.
Stay up to date all year on the Indiana Pacers by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Pacers on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, the Bengals need to pay up, and pronto. The Cincinnati Bengals still haven't paid Trey Hendrickson. Locked On NFL hosts Tyler Rowland and Lauren Cox discuss why sorting out their finances as soon as possible is the only way to avoid disaster in the fall.
So the question becomes, do you think it does work out, or do you think that he would go to the extreme and sit out the season and get back in the draft? And do you think at this point, with the time that he's missed, even though it's off-season stuff, it will affect his ultimate trajectory throughout the season when he does get on the field, I guess?
Yeah, for me, it's just believable enough as a possibility that it's good leverage, right? I think there's a lot of players that it's just everyone has that option, but realistically, there's no way. And he's not, I mean, in all likelihood, he's not going to, but this is not a player who's coming off of some huge breakout season that got him drafted in the first round. And if you add another year of time where it's now is he still going to be the same guy? He already had aggressively low production in college. This was already a traits based, kind of not ignore the tape, because the tape there's still traits on tape, but ignore the production, ignore what we saw in the field in some ways, and project out forward. And so another year of being away wouldn't necessarily drastically change the evaluation there. So I don't think he's going to. I think this will resolve, but it's a stupid Bengals latest in the same theory, the same track record of shooting themselves in the foot with the contract language they're trying to put in there that isn't standard for a lot of other players. And it's just why are they? Is this a first round pick? Just get him in there. It's not even a financial issue. The salary's locked in. Just get it. You don't even have the money as an excuse this time, because it's not even a money issue. It's a future money guarantee, flexibility kind of stuff that's just missing the forest for the trees.
And remember, it's not just Trey Hendrickson. They're currently battling their first round pick over guarantees and void language. They just are incapable of being normal about a contract one time. And I want you to go back through history and find me all of the examples of teams that act this way, that nickel and dime at every turn. The Bengals, notoriously one of the smallest coaching staffs, one of the smallest front office and scouting staffs. They have traditionally not been willing to pay the Joe Burrows and T. Higginses and Jamar Chases of the world, or at least not outside of the structure that they stick to over and over. And being so rigid to those formats is just not a recipe for success unless you get historically lucky. And the Bengals almost did. They almost won a Super Bowl anyway because they lucked into Joe Burrow as the number 1 overall pick and then lucked into his LSU teammate in Jamar Chase, forming maybe the most combustible duo in the NFL. Be normal one time, Cincy, or you are going to ruin your chance with some of the best players in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Don't do it. And finally, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever brought the heat and the hands in a physical 88-71 win over the Connecticut Sun. Clark poured in 20 points and nailed 4 threes, but the real fireworks came late. 3 ejections in the final minute after a hard foul on Connecticut's J.C. Sheldon turned into a shoving match with Sophie Cunningham. Earlier, Clark was poked in the eye and then shoved to the floor, resulting in a trio of techs and some free throws for her trouble. The win not only pushed Indiana back above 500, but it also locked in their spot in the Commissioner's Cup. The Fever starting to run hot in June. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, do the Pacers stand a chance if Tyrese Haliburton can't play? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.